What is going on here? The groovy 70s, coked up 80s, Nirvana 90s. Every decade has a style, a specific flair associated with them, and this is no different when it comes to automotive design. The 80s were boxy, the 90s were definitely blobby, cars from the 2000s were influenced by their CAD software designs. And these headlights. Meanwhile, during the 2010s, every car seemed to become angry. You could argue about what the prominent trend of the 2020s might be. Plastic body cladding, or perhaps floating roofs? Or is it the reintroduction of split headlights? Well, I'm not going to talk about the first two, so it must be the headlights. What do we mean by split headlights exactly? Well, a car's front end has to integrate side lights, low and high beams, indicators, and when it comes to modern cars, daytime running lights. To make life easier for everyone involved, lights are usually combined into one single headlamp unit. So really, when any one of these is separated from the rest and put into its own housing, it can be considered a split headlight design, right? Sure, split lamps go way back. In addition to the single 7-inch diameter sealed beam units that all cars in the US were mandated to use, 5.75-inch twin sealed beams began to be allowed by law in 1957. But it would take until 1958 for the 4-lamp system to be legalized in every state. The 57 Chryslers were designed around headlight pods that fit both the larger single and smaller double headlamps. Depending on the state you lived in, your 57 Chrysler could have featured a different, perhaps a little cheaper feeling front end. So, in America, automakers now had extensive freedom in choosing between these two standards. But obviously, as we know, luxury is about having more of something. So given the fact that one of these is less and the other is more, twin headlight designs began to be reserved for the more pricier options across manufacturer lineups. The Ford Pinto and the Maverick? Ugh. The Ford LTD? Hello. This thought process wasn't exclusive to the States either, as it extended all across the world. The Toyota Corolla, a simple economy car, featured singular headlamps on either side. But when Daihatsu used the same platform to create the more upscale, more luxurious Daihatsu Charman model, it was available exclusively with quad lamps. The same story in Europe, where moving up the ladder of more expensive trim levels often got you the addition of more lights at the front. That all changed when composite headlights finally took over car design for good in the 80s and 90s. Splitting the intended functions of a light unit became more of a peculiarity instead of being the norm. So the vast majority of cars left with this kind of design, A, featured pop-up headlights, so additional light units for things like the indicators were essentially essential, or B, simply split the indicators off into separate units for design purposes, like 90s Volkswagens or the Nissan NX. Obviously, there were exceptions, cars like the Toyota Gaia, the Alfa GTV, Acura Integra, or plenty of Mercedes models. But for the most part, split headlights weren't really a thing anymore.
These are daytime running lamps. When you're on a 2-lane highway like this in very bright sunlight, it helps you see a car or truck. Headlights at night help you see other things, but this lets people see you anytime. If I step back into the shadow, I disappear without these lights. But with these lights on, I'm a car. And right now, General Motors is the only domestic car producer that is going to have these daytime running lights, and we're doing them just because we think it's the right thing to do. We're just going to do it.
Huh. I always thought GM began equipping most of their cars in the US with daytime running lights to save money. as all models sold in Canada were required to have DRLs as standard regardless, meaning that instead of having to design and produce two separate versions of front lights for Canadian and American models, they could use one unified variant for both markets. Turns out I was wrong and GM really cared about safety. Daytime running lights began to be adopted on a mass scale throughout the late 90s and 2000s. By 1997, GM's entire lineup was equipped with them. Some vehicles were specifically designed with separate housings for the DRLs and DRLs only, such as the GMT 201 minivans. Running parallel with this, the 2000s began to see a noticeable resurgence when it came to split lights. On one hand, you had a whole heap of luxury manufacturers adopting a retro-inspired quad-lamp front-end look. On the other hand, plenty of mass-market cars adopted designs where circular lights, usually the fog lights, were prominently displayed alongside the main light units. The BMW X5, the Ford S-Max, Skoda Yeti, the Mustang or Fiat 500 all adopted a rather similar look. In hindsight, this was quite clearly the prelude for what was about to happen. In 2010, the famed and acclaimed Nissan Juke did not become the first car to feature our modern-day interpretation of split headlights. The ones above were the indicators and side lights. Instead, that honor belongs to Citroen. First with the 2013 C4 Picassos and later the C4 Cactus. LED daytime running lights at the top, main headlight lamps lower down. At the time, this wasn't some design revolution though, it was just one of multiple elements and decisions by Citroen which could be considered throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Citroen was also touting stuff like integrated roof rails, which were supposedly going to be featured on other models in their lineup. Don't forget that the Cactus also debuted air bumps, these protective panels intended to reduce damage done to the doors by elements like shopping carts. Or two shopping carts. Not to mention the fact that the entire car was built around the idea of immense weight savings. That's why the rear windows can't even be rolled down. Just a few weeks after the world got to see the C4 Picasso, Jeep unveiled the 2013 Cherokee. Unlike the Citroen, generally seen as rather interesting or even attractive, the Cherokee was more so compared to genital warts. Even with that, Citroen and Jeep revealed something massive for car designers. When you look at a car's face, so to say, what you tend to notice mostly are the eyes, the upper lights, and the mouth, the grille. Anything below the uppermost lights are basically ignored by your brain, which allows car designers to mold a car's face to look like it's more streamlined, more futuristic than it perhaps actually is. These bulky, large lights are still present, you just don't perceive them to be there as elements of the car's front-end face. When this was figured out, car makers from every corner of the planet realized that they want to be like Citroen. From Japan to India, from America to Iran. So everyone jumped on this. Great. It can't just be because of some dumb face stuff though, right? I mean, Rolls-Royce is doing it. Is the cause behind it actually pedestrian safety or aerodynamics? This kind of setup allows for a more slanted front end after all. Or is it because front ends in general keep getting taller and something is needed to break up that space? It could be all of those, and it probably isn't. This is a trend. Trends come, trends go. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dreams. The groovy 70s, coked up 80s, and Nirvana 90s are no longer with us. Because trends always get old. One day, so will split headlights once again. I must admit, I have feelings for you. Feelings of gratitude to people like Justin Lin, Agallo, Ifan Ramdan, Jan, 112R, Emilio Baina, Heavy Blaster, Joa Marino, Luna, Macaloni, Mitun Galan, Octofan, Sheepy21, Tens to 42, Veyron 730, Xavier Soto, Alex Liu, Areño, Martin Gazikov, Real, Tom Vugan, C17XC, De Uzi Flow, Blue Violet, Gaming Screen, Haley Kip, Mohamed Abdul Qadir, Visible Confusion, Arcana, Jim H, Moises Alejandro, Bored Fish, Misha Kolesnik, Apapaka, D-Mice, Mihai Valentin, Yusuf Ahmed, Chulicity, Love Thistle, K and L, Radu Dutsan, Bystander, Cat, Rui, Thick Cloud, Jacob A Minor Annoyance, Joshua Wood, Lorettery, D, and Philip Zuravsky.